because I'm going to answer them all for you later on. So, quick demo with this guy. You should be able to see me in there. Orange, red, and yellow guy. So, sorry, Michael, but that means I'm the hottest thing in here. Mostly ladies. I got to play to it. So, and I'm the only guy in the frame, so take that for what it's worth, too. But, again, we're looking for... What are we looking for with this? What do you think?
Heat signature.
Yeah.
How so?
The red or the yellow?
But are they hot or cold?
Cold.
Cold, right. We're looking for cold spots, literally. We are looking for things to take shape in the blue and black areas or to start moving on their own. So I usually look for 15-degree temperature drops when I'm kind of scanning through your video. Again, we will be recording most of your night with this, but I'm only going to spot check it. So every 5 minutes worth of video, I will watch about a minute of it. So again, it's just spot checking to kind of see where we're at with certain things. So there's a blue dot that's bouncing around this screen that's going to help you when you're watching your video to show you the coldest spot in the frame at that particular moment. This is a FLIR. This is what firemen use to actually help save people. Like, this is the real deal here. Like, this isn't some phone app, just so you know. Let's see. I actually think, how do I want to go about with doing this?
Big John. You guys know where you're going?
I'm trying to think of who I want to go with. I know you were super excited about this. Heather, you want to go with this one? All right, so you're going to hold this horizontal, basically right-handed, with the camera on your left all night. I'm going to give you a few starts and stops throughout the night.
Okay.
And again, that's only because as great as the hardware is, the software sucks. We don't want to lose any footage. So if we record for too long, you know, I'll tell you to use the stops.
This is your thing. You want to take it? Take it.
That's
Yes, do it.
So,
Thank you.
yep. So you don't need to hit any buttons. The orange square means that it is recording. We're going to leave it recording until I give you the cue to go ahead and stop it. So just so you know. Let's
Be
get off the
careful.
next camera.
Right now you're showing the ground. See the cars?
Yeah.
See how the wheels are red? That's the brakes. Brakes are hotter. Right? See the red? So if you see a blue thing walk across, see my hand?
Yeah, it is a GoPro. So, you should not be able to see me in this tiny little GoPro. Yes, I'm showing you a black screen. So, let's turn on some lights. So, the whole screen should have just lit up purple. So, we are working with infrared lighting here. So, the entire screen should be a purplish hue. These are lights you cannot see with your own eyes. Notice that there's no light emitting from the camera or the top beacon up here, but you can see the reds in the front. So, there are 24 LEDs lighting up the screen around us. And with that, the hope here is that we're going to be able to capture something we normally would not be able to see with our own eyes, that normally would not reflect light, that can be seen the way our eyes are actually set up. So we're going to be recording with this guy most of the night as well, but with only 8 people here tonight, I am going to leave out the lasers with this guy, just because if we would have had a full group of 10, it's usually the only time I bring out the lasers. This loves to pick up orbs with this brand new setup that I have. So with that, Lily, I got you something else for you. So, Katie, I'm going to go with you on this one, and it is already recording. So just let me know if your screen says please format SD card in the next 5 minutes or so. Otherwise, we'll begin.
Try the parking lot.
Already? Yeah. All right, I'll fix it up next. That's okay. We're about to put it down. All right, spirit boxes. We're going to be using several different types of spirit boxes tonight. So spirit boxes are a way for us to communicate with the dead. So this is going to sweep through the FM radio stations at a very fast rate. On your TV shows and YouTube videos, this is where you basically hear just white noise, and then your host will tell you what he thinks he heard in the middle of it and put it up in the screen for you. We're going to be doing that in real time, but with a little bit of a different method. So, Kaya, was it? Did I get your name right? Yeah. So, this particular spirit box is going to be sweeping a little bit slower than just white noise. The radio chatter will come through. Means you're going to hear song lyrics, commercials, and DJs. If you can make out one of those 3 things and what they're actually saying, it's a 50-50 shot that I can tie to the location of where we are, a person in history we're talking about, or even something going on with somebody here. So you're going to have an earbud in. You're going to be the only one to hear this in real time. But because you are my skeptic, yes, I just called you out. This is recording the entire thing. So anything you hear in real time, I'm going to be writing down. Because yes, I keep a little notebook with me, so that way I can write things down. But I'm going to be spot checking this guy tomorrow morning and kind of giving the whole group everything. And you're also, everybody's going to get this recording back. So I don't want earbuds back because your earwax is gross. Congratulations, you get to keep that. So undo the twist tie on this guy. Your volume button is right here. It's a wheel. So it's right next to the power button, so don't hit that. You definitely want to just keep your finger on the wheel. So I have it turned all the way down. Most people work with just one earbud in.
I got called out.
Now, Lily, I actually have 2 of these, but you're going to get the second one because this one's not going to record. I'm going to be relying on you and what you hear in real time, so that way I can write it down. So again, keep your own earwax, it's nasty. Your volume button is also a wheel. I'm turning it all the way down. So undo your twist tie and pop one of those in your ear. And you ladies still don't have anything. You just gave your device away. No, I'm going to hook you up.
No, we're good.
So you're gonna be able to.
It's going to give you guys an easy one. So the next one is probably one of the... You're going to be just fine, trust me. So this one, we don't actually have to listen to, but this is another type of spirit box. Sorry, I have like this crazy spider lingering around my face. So this is going to give us a set of words from time to time in the center of the screen. So this is what we would normally call an obulus if you're fans of the TV shows. It's going to save all of the words into a list, and it has timestamps on everything. 80% of this is going to be garbage. So, again, this is a phone app. There are 36,000 words in its dictionary. So, and it could be terms and phrases. So, single words or a whole phrase. I'm going to clear out last night. They actually had 82 terms show up. 80% of it was garbage. I think we had about 5 solid terms that popped up out of this. I don't want to see every word that pops up. I will come to you when I want to see the word list. And it's the little white button next to where the blank screen is in the center. So, basically, hang on to that. And then we don't have to see anything.
One of those three-wheeler shoot.
That's cool. I like had it light on.
You hear anything, Kaya?
What do you
What do you hear?
Heather, you're going to be double-fisted since you gave your device away. So,
I hear a song right now.
Song?
what lyrics are you hearing? I don't care what song it is. What's the song? Like, what's the lyric that you're hearing? And it shouldn't be staying on one song. It should be going through
It's going through multiple.
Okay, good. So you guys have seen these on television, right? The little K2 electronic magnetic field meters? So these are pretty much a staple for ghost hunting. We kind of have to have these, but I use them to debunk a lot of things. So in essence, if any colors show up, this is going to pick up electrical fields from buildings and wiring and parking meters. So I'm going to use this to like, okay, we might have something going on, but let's see what else is actually around us. So there's device number 1. All you need to do is hold that one. This one I don't normally hand to teenagers because they don't know what the hell this guy is.
It's a camera.
I know. They use their phones now. So you're going to be taking hundreds and hundreds of pictures for us.
Okay.
The big button at the top is obviously the shoot button, and then the button next to it is the power button. So if it shuts off, like you don't see any of the white lettering, you just turn it right back on with the button right next to it.
Okay.
Hundreds of pictures.
So I
It does
just,
not have a
just
flash.
go and go and go. It's like whenever.
Hundreds. So now that all 3 cameras are out, I do want to kind of point out one thing. We are going to spaces tonight where there may be parked cars with people walking by. If I do kind of like an Andy's Coming from Toy Story, basically you're going to be pointing your camera at the ground because we don't film any cars, right? And of course you're holding a cell phone, so it's going to be really easy for you to kind of hide that around, especially because you're short. And we will obviously won't be taking any pictures of vehicles with people walking by, other than us. All right, keep going, right? There's more stuff. So, Mike,
Yes, sir.
you're my multifunctional tasker.
Okay.
So what this guy's going to do, it actually has 3 different functions to it. The first is it's basically Heather's device in digital format. So the big number's at the top. If anything goes above 2.5, I want to know what's going on. Just so that way we can kind of debunk some things first. The second thing it has is ambient temperature. If Rylan finds something on her camera, you and I can debunk it or prove it based on the yellow probe here at the top because it's measuring the air around it. So it's just at the ready. The last thing that it has is a motion sensor. So basically, if anything gets close to that antenna that I just pulled out, it's going to go off. I'm not touching it right now. Now I am. So obviously there's different colors and different sounds that come out of that, but I'll show you more at our next stop. So for now, just get used to how those numbers kind of move around. And that way we're not being annoyed with all the beeping sounds. And Marty, you get to carry the bag. No, I'm kidding. You get the brand new Spirit Box. Now this guy works a whole lot different than every other one that we actually have on. This is going to sweep through both FM and AM radio stations at the same time. It's also going to try to take out the white noise that Kaya is hearing and Lily's hearing, and only give us words from time to time. So the cool thing about this is that it's only going to give you about 10 to 12 words total through the entire night. Again, 10 to 12, a 2-hour time frame. If you can make out what it's actually saying, obviously it'll be relevant to the location. This thing is about 75% accurate, and we do get direct answers out of this guy a lot. So the only thing you need to worry about is how to hold it and what button to hit for mute. So the blinking lights that are at the top on the right-hand side when you're looking at it, there's only one button. It's the mute button. You just click it in and release, and it's muted. So I'll give you the kind of the cues of when we can unmute it, because certain spaces we're going to be quiet areas because of horses or neighbors or something along those lines. So for now, we're going to keep it muted. So again, that way we're not being distracted.
Is it muted now?
It is muted right now. Is everybody geared up?
Geared up.
All right, Lily's in charge. Go have fun.
I
no. All right, I got to get Lily to talk. That's part of the reason why I gave her a spirit box. So everybody knows.
being so quiet.
Yeah. Again, there's a lot to go. There's a lot to take
in.
in here. So, and that's why everybody kind of has one job, except for Heather. But you have like necessity jobs, but they're easy jobs.
I can do
So,
it.
of course, we start here for a reason. Big John's. The place is haunted. Of course it is. Now, this place used to be owned by a football player. His name was Big John Kennedy. So he played for the 1947 New York Giants. I will always do my best to slow down on specific keywords because I have 5 spirit boxes in play tonight, and you're going to need those keywords for your spirit boxes. In this location, the keywords would be 47, New York, Giants, and anything obviously relatable to a bar or the name John. So, but he used to sit in the back of the bar, and he would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel if they were old enough to drink or not. And one night, 2 guys came in. They're not old enough to drink. So he has the bartender throw them out, and they leave pretty angry. They come back the next night and try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's going on. He slams down his beer, and he goes over and starts beating the hell out of these guys, just pounding them right into the floor. A couple of gunshots go off. John gets shot in the neck, but the bullet lands behind him. He gets up after being shot, and he goes back to the bartender and tells him to get him another beer, get the 2 guys on the floor in ambulance. Now, normally if I tell you that a building is haunted, you automatically think of some kind of tragedy that occurred there, some kind of tragic death. What's haunting this place is the bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. And I say allegedly because the new renovation of Big John's that we're looking at could have filled it in. But that doesn't mean that Big John's blood is still not in this building. People that sit in the front of this bar tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, or a headache. A lot of my guests will go there for dinner and come to see me and tell me that they had this beautiful steak that they couldn't finish because they thought they were going to be sick. So, that is kind of like the heated warning that you're about to go through. Fingers crossed we're going to have some paranormal activity. I don't know how it's going to affect anybody, but if anybody feels any of those symptoms, I need to know immediately. Is that fair? Headache, queasy, nauseous, those kind of things? Again, we got moms on the tour, and now you're all looking at me like, what the hell did we sign up for? So, let's talk about something else and kind of get our minds off of that, right? So, have you guys been taking any kind of history tours here in Charleston at all?
Not yet.
Okay, so we had a big earthquake here in 1886. Now you know, and every tour you'll ever take here is going to tell you about this earthquake because it is a big anomaly for us. We're supposed to have hurricanes, not earthquakes. Big John's, the building, is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. During the earthquake, a piece of the white mantle in the middle of the building broke off, hit somebody in the back of the head, killed them, and they say you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street. Now, I say allegedly and apparently a lot with that because I don't have any proof. It's just a great segue, so Marty's not thinking about her kids getting sick on the tour. So, now that I brought it up again, yes, that was supposed to be a joke, y'all. We're going to keep this light, I promise. We're going to have fun with this. So, is everybody ready to go ghost hunting?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to take your camera so I can fix it along the way. So, let's head up. Absolutely.
Let's see if I can see a ghost in Big John's.
Any cold spots?
Well, I don't think there wouldn't be any ghosts in Big John's.
You said people get queasy and sick from them.
Yeah.
And someone died there.
The city was in the middle of East Street. The owner of Big John probably doesn't like that guy very much. That guy is probably going to be one if they're going to get sick and kill them every night. Michigan. Guy, I see a cool spot. Oh, it's right behind you. There's a cool spot right behind you. It's gonna grab your neck.
So you're hearing words, Kaya?
What are you hearing?
I just heard something about Jesus, then I heard something about Spot or something.
So as far as alerting me whenever like something starts to pop up, I'm going to be bouncing around with all of you. So again, with everything that's going on with your devices right now, for me to try to keep up with 8 devices and you're all kind of shouting at me is not going to work out.
Okay.
So again, when I'm going to keep an eye on the lights, just so you know, I'm pretty good at like keeping an eye, especially with yours and Mike's lights.
Okay.
Okay, we should be good now.
It's like, sometimes
Thank you for
it's
allowing
like
me to do
radio,
that.
sometimes
So
it's singing.
Welcome to the Big Red Barn Lots. We're not going to be here for very long, but this is where I get to explain your devices a little bit further. So this is where we keep the horses for the carriage rides, for those of you that are not from here. So the history here is really short and simple, and I made it that way on purpose so we could talk more about your devices and prove a couple of points. So this is the same red barn that used to had horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. So again, keywords here would be delivery, milk, eggs, and anything relatable to a stable. So let's talk about spirit boxes, because there's 5 of them in play tonight. Spirit boxes, normally everybody wants to ask the same question whether they get a communication device like a Ouija board or a spirit box. What do you think that question is?
Do you hear something? What are you hearing? What are they saying?
No, that's me asking you that.
Who are you?
Most people want to ask, is somebody here?
Oh.
Right? So if Lily hears no, that means somebody's here. Okay, so we are not going to be asking yes and no questions all night long. There's always a way to reword the question. So in a space like this, I would tell Spirit Box folks that have never used one before to ask a question you already know the answer to, like if somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is. However, I'm going to say looking and listening because, obviously, I'm sorry, I'm losing your name, sweetheart.
Erica.
Erica. Let's say Erica's word list might give us, she's looking at it, she doesn't have to listen to it. But the rest of you are using song lyrics and DJs to convey messages back to us. And the word red might not be available for a direct answer. So, fire truck, blood, heart, those 3 things are specifically red. I would take that as an answer. What color is the big red barn? Blood. I'm good with that direct answer. However, throughout the night, I'm going to say that's a great start, but let's see if we can get a verifier. What do I mean by that? I want 2 things actually going on at the same time to be able to verify what's actually happening. Another example. Erica's word list gives us the word art. That doesn't mean anything over here. But then Kaya hears the number 40. That doesn't mean anything by itself either. But Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. Do you guys see where I'm going with this and how we're going to be putting clues together throughout the night? There's a lot of people from the 17 and 1800s with the same damn name. We need to know who we're talking to. So we need that kind of secondary verifier. You're going to hear me say verifier a lot tonight. I will be debunking a lot of things and withholding information on purpose. So again, I didn't tell you guys about Art Faircloth until we got over here, but if that were to actually occur, I can piece that together for you. I'm not going to say in Google for every location we have. Some spaces will be like, yeah, I don't know. But I'm going to look at it in the morning because that's a weird phrase or word to be hearing at this location. So let's talk about the cameras. Let's kind of get those out of the way. So Rylan, you're going to try to do 2 things for us. You're going to try to keep one of us in view. The reason for that, guys, is because we're going to be the warmest thing out here, and when there's a person in view, it's much easier to find those cold spots. The other thing you're going to try to do is obviously not look like a YouTuber, but you're going to try to keep the sky out of view because the blue dot that's bouncing around, it's looking for surfaces to measure, and the sky doesn't have a surface. So again, some of those spaces are going to be impossible for you to do that. Just try your best. Nice slow movements out of it. The slower you are, the better it's going to be on, as far as all of us watching it. And as far as your camera, again, slowest movement possible. I'll be looking to make sure your red dot in the front is blinking. That means you're recording. And then I'll kind of give you the cues for the stop. Your stop button is going to be on the right-hand side. It's the only circle button. It's the furthest button to the right. All right, so I think everybody kind of has a much better gist of what their devices do. I just want to make sure you're still blinking. Good deal. Has anybody heard anything on their spirit boxes before we move on between Lily and Kaya?
I have.
What have you got?
A couple things. I've heard stuff about Jesus, stretching, some random weird stuff.
And no matter how silly you think it might be, it might actually be relatable to the space. So, for example,
something about auto something.
Okay.
Nothing right now.
Okay. So, but my point is, at this point, you're hearing things, which is good.
Yeah.
Again, no matter how silly you think it might be. Lily, how
was it? Oh, it's just music and stuff.
Again, it's about the lyrics. So I don't care that you hear Harry Styles, because everybody wants to tell me they heard Harry Styles and what song he was singing. I don't care what song he was singing. I care what lyric he was singing at the time you heard it. So if you heard As It Was, I know that's the name of the song, but again, if that's what you heard, that's what I'm writing down, As It Was, because that's literally what you heard. Does that make sense to both of
I
you?
just heard sponsored.
Sponsored is good too. So again, you're hearing things, which is awesome. And we're going to get you used to yours because it's going to be a little bit of like really getting used to it.
Okay.
So, but I'm going to show Mike more about his device at the next location. Erica, how's your word list coming?
I have good.
Okay.
Before that, I saw course, lemon, and prospect.
Yeah, I got nothing on that. Yours is mainly 80% garbage. Remember that.
Okay,
So-
good.
Yeah. Mike, have you seen any numbers at all?
Nope.
Okay. So
I mean, it went up to like 0.2, 0.3, then right back down.
Yeah,
Nothing
up
over
to
2.5.
1.1 is natural coming from the Earth. So again, that's why I say 2.5 and higher, because
Okay.
that would be Heather's second green dot. So that way I can kind of compare the two, and they're measuring in
Okay.
the same units of measurement.
And Rylan has a question for you.
What you got?
So if I went into Big John's, I probably wouldn't be allowed to, and just kind of like look through this at the wall. Could I see like a cold dot from like the bullet hole?
It's a possibility. I'm not going to say that it could be there, but at the same token, I don't even know if it's still there anymore. I've seen it before they renovated it, and I don't drink, so I don't have any reason to go in there. So I went in there initially to have a meeting about my tours with the person I used to work for doing this, but now I own the company. But is that an answer? It's a possible thing that could happen, but I can't prove it one way or the other.
Okay.
But good question. Let's get away from ponies and football players and go learn much deeper history. What do you
All
think?
right.
Okay.
All right, let's do it. We're going to go this way.
Where's E Street? I want to see if I can find a guy like that.
Just go into it. Keep the person on the screen.
I know, I ended up screaming that.
Was it like like a song where it was like screaming the song?
Yeah.
A group that can keep up with me. This is going to be awesome. So, welcome to your technical first spot. You're in a parking lot. Congratulations, you made it. I told you I was taking you weird spaces. First off, Spirit Boxes, we are going to be exploring this space after I give you the history of the location, but I am not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse, like what we did over there with the big red barn. You're going to get the answers from your Spirit Boxes. This is the first location where I will withhold information. So what is this place? Heather's looking around going, yeah, it's a parking lot. Pretty sure I've never been here. So this used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion. Their mansion actually sat in the front of this space. Yeah, I see the head nodding. So Eliza's garden used to be lined up with Five Church Restaurant and came all the way across, and we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. So everybody kind of has a layout of the way it was set up. So who the heck were these people? Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles, and they had a nephew named Charles. The son and the nephew, by the way, that's 3 Charleses. That's why we look for secondary verifiers, right? So the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. That's a pretty big deal for us. However, I hate politics more than all of you, so we're going to move on. But if I don't bring it up, it usually comes up somewhere in a spirit box. You think I'd leave it out purposely, but it's usually in anger. Like, hey, you forgot about the Constitution, kind of thing. So, yeah, it happens. Trust me. I'm here 7 nights a week. I know exactly how this is going to go. Now, with this location, Eliza, we're going to talk about her specifically. Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So Spirit Boxes, if you ask later on how old she was when she got married, you're not going to see or hear answers like 12 and 14. Okay, just think of more like today's standards, and the only reason I bring this up is because Charles, her husband, was over double her age. A little bit creepy then, back in the 1700s, it's just as much creepy now. Just so you guys know what those numbers might be. But she married him because her father, over in England, thought he was dying, and he wanted to see all of his children one last time, so he's trying to bring all of his kids home. She didn't think he was dying, so she stayed put and got married. It's 1744. You didn't get married in 1744 for a green card or for citizenship because you're a foreigner. You did it because of love. We're not even a country yet, so those aren't even real things. So, with that, her dad did get better. He starts sending her gifts to the space of where we're standing right now. You guys have been in town for at least an hour or longer. You've seen the word indigo somewhere. One of those gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. Some of you are wearing it tonight. So when she got these seeds, she didn't know what to do with them. She had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated. It's not always hot here. Once she figured it out and experimented, she moves it to another plantation just south of here near the Stono River. Then she's able to call her father and say, rice plantations are going downhill. We can make a killing with this indigo. And we now have an international businesswoman during colonial times, which is something absolutely unheard of for a woman. So that's her business. That's the boring stuff. Let's get into the real weird stuff, which is why you guys are all here to begin with. I'm going to be assigning questions. So we're going to see how this is actually going to go. Lily, let me see who I want to start with. So I normally start with, let's see. Marty, you have a spirit box, and it only gives us normally 1 to 2 word answers. So I want you to start asking, once we spread out, what actually happened to the mansion. It's obviously not here anymore. If you get an answer, when did that happen? You might get the full date or just a year. We never know. So kind of stick to those 2 questions. As far as, let's see, I'm gonna go with the children with Lily. So you can ask about her kids. I already told you there's one. His name was Charles. There are more. You can ask how many and what their names were, but that's it. The reason why I'm telling her that's it is because there's a tragedy among those children. If we poke the bear, all activity will stop, and I haven't seen any EMF readings yet, and Mike hasn't screamed out like, holy cow, and I haven't seen any colors on yours yet, but if we did, those would ultimately stop. So just stick to how many and what their names were, and kind of stick to that whole deal. Where are my other spirit boxes? You're going to see which Eliza we're actually dealing with. So the reason why is because Charles married 2 women named Eliza, back to back. The first wife died in January of 1744. The Eliza I just spoke of, he married her in May of the same year, so 5 months apart after his wife's death. Ironically, they both have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. Find out which Eliza we're dealing with. That's probably coming from your phone.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. But that's why I'm here to debunk things and not get everybody excited about a cell phone reading. But ask what their maiden names are and see if you actually get the answers.
Okay.
And as far as yours, yes, I'm going to give you a lot.
Oh.
So you get Eliza's death. You get to ask her how old she was when she died, what she died from, where she's buried, and what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. So you have 4 major questions that all relate to her death, and hopefully you'll get the answers.
Okay.
I'm going to keep her busy. Can you see why?
I guess so.
Yeah.
That's
So-
gonna be a struggle for me, but I'll try. I'll
Yep.
try and remember
Just start
those.
with how old were you when you died, and we'll take it from there.
Okay.
So we are going to spread out in this area. I'm going to work with Mike first to show him more about his device. We have about 7 or 8 cars in this lot, so kind of keep in mind, those of you with cameras, we don't go in between vehicles, and obviously we don't film vehicles for too long. If people are passing by, you are nonchalantly not filming them. So just kind of keep that in mind as well, Ryland. So you're the shortest one. It's going to be much easier to hide. But everybody else, let's spread out. Let's get those spirit boxes cranked up. Mike, you need to stick with me so I can show you more. But Marty, definitely get yours unmuted so that you can actually hear it. All right, so it's unfortunate you didn't see any reading today.
Kyle, what are you hearing?
Nothing yet. Go away.
Okay.
that was just me moving, or you moving.
Okay.
It's actually you getting closer to me.
Right out of that spare box. How's your stuff coming?
What should I be looking for? Should I be looking like for moving blue things?
Mainly.
Okay.
But I will tell you, like, does this capture something every single night? No. But I won't know until I actually review the recording. And if we're not recording, we won't capture it. So the slower the movements out of you, the better.
Okay.
So again, just nice slow movements out of it. Just be as slow as you possibly can, and we'll see if there's anything moving around in here. So, she's got this. Again, that was a little something. I don't know what it said, but and I would try to stick with her just because her audio is recording, your device does not. So if you miss something, it'll come up on the audio from the camera.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So we're kind of like doubling up on both of these devices. There's a reason why I have these devices there.
Okay.
Let me catch up. Hiya.
That's a scary noise.
What happened at the mansion?
Dad, did you get anything?
No, it goes off over here quite a bit.
Yeah, I was looking like I turned around here and like it was like it's kind of blue over here and then I heard your thing go off.
What happened at the mansion?
Is it playing songs or something?
What happened at the mansion?
What was that?
I can't hear any words. It's all just static right now.
What other questions do you have? Mom, what other questions do you have to ask her?
Just what happened at the mansion and what year?
Was it trying to say something?
What happened at the mansion?
Does that like raise a voice when you happen when you ask the question?
Immediate delivery. Immediate delivery.
You want to ask him? Just try and see what that means.
What does that mean? What year did it happen? What questions do you have?
Mine is in the talking thing. I don't have questions. I just try and find it. It's a thermal thing, so I'm trying to look for cold spots. What is the blinking light supposed to do?
This way. We're ghost hunting.
What happened at the mansion?
Yeah, this one we're asking a lot about her death. All right, Marty, you got anything coming up? Yet?
Immediate delivery.
Immediate delivery. Where were we just now? We talked about the horses that deliver milk and eggs. So again, delivery shows up here often. So we probably have the word horses showing up on one of the other two. We probably just didn't hear it in real time.
Okay.
So you see where I'm going with that?
Yep.
Writing in the dark is on my resume now. So.
What year did it happen? I feel like it sounds faster when you ask us something.
Heard watching you.
Watching you? That's creepy.
Because I'm moving.
Mom said I'm watching you.
I got really cold for a second.
So.
Yeah, same. I got like a shiver. It's weird.
All right, those of you with video, go ahead and stop your videos. Give your hands a break. We definitely
Pause
want to turn
it,
off
or
the red
just-
pod. You want to hit the red square. It'll turn to a
This?
circle. Make sure you go ahead and stop it and restart it real quick without moving the camera. Perfect. All right. So, Katie, you got your camera rolling? All right. So definitely mute yours, Marty, because we're in a quiet area. Any names that were heard along the way?
John and Charles.
John and Charles. John. Okay.
I straight up heard my name is John.
You heard my name is John.
Yeah.
Have close soldiers lean, often listen for. Yeah.
Normally when something pops up twice anywhere, especially when you guys go through the name John, like there's a spirit box, it's usually like a focal point. Normally I have to pay attention to that. But the John is obviously very easy because I already know what that one actually means. So welcome to Lodge Mountain. What is this space? When we crossed the last crosswalk coming down East Bay Street where we kind of waited there for a minute, that's where the original Charlestown Wall used to be. So what you're standing on is one of the first streets that Charlestown actually had. So Charleston used to be called Charlestown, the walled city. So again, this is the original fortification of those walls. The reason I asked you all for names is because people used to live on this street. So it's not a big, lengthy word list of names that I actually have, but I do have the full list of residents of every single person that's ever lived here. The names I commonly hear are Benjamin and John. So here's what's weird about those two names. I normally only hear them on the same night every 6 to 7 weeks. So here's the reason why. First off, I want to tell you that both Benjamin and John lived here in 1801. If we're ever confused about which John, because there were 4 different Johns that lived down here, this John will give us his last name, which is Johnson. Yes, his name was John Johnson. I know it's funny, but it's obviously very relevant because I hear the same names. Now, basically what we're dealing with here is what we call the stone tape theory. You're standing on Belgian blocks. These are made of granite. Now, you guys have heard the term limestone because you all seem like you've seen some kind of paranormal show in your past, right? So limestone is actually said to stir up any kind of paranormal activity because it comes straight from the earth. Granite also comes straight from the earth, but is not supposed to hold any type of electromagnetic field whatsoever. Limestone does. So Mike, I'm going to actually ask you to put your device in the shape that it's in on a brick. Choose whichever brick you want. I want to see if we get any kind of readings out of it higher than 1.1. So because 1.1 is about average, looks like we actually are seeing it grow, which is very interesting. So at times, this device will actually go all the way to 11.7 on a device that's not supposed to give us any readings whatsoever. And your device is giving us about an average of 15. Choose a different brick because that seems to be pretty steady. Yours is now hovering around 2.2, so you're still getting about a 15, which is odd. I love how we're just scraping all the devices across the bricks. Yeah, no. This is what we do, folks. Like, this is how we test things out. Is it giving you the same reading everywhere?
2 lower.
1, 2, okay, perfect. So we had a little bit of a different reading. I am going to leave that on the ground for just a moment. But basically, because these bricks have been here for hundreds of years, the theory behind this is that they've been hanging on to the consciousness of memories, and they're replaying it back, and we're able to capture it on electronic devices like what you guys are all holding. So, do I have a specific anything about Benjamin and John other than the fact that they lived here in 1801? No, I don't. I just get the same names every 6 to 7 weeks. You're going to get a reading from the building because there's electrical wiring in there. But I love the fact that you're testing it. So, still on 2.2? Alright, we can go ahead and pick that up. I don't think we're going to get anything else out of it. Before people lived here, the Freemasons actually had a Masonic lodge here, hence the name Lodge Alley. So we do get terms wrapped around the Freemasons. So obviously the word Freemason, Mason, brick, and the term Illuminati loves to show up on the 2 red spirit boxes that we have out. Now, yeah, first off, who the hell's talking about the Illuminati on the radio? That's my first question. Second, why am I only hearing it while we're in this space? So take that for what it's worth. They showed up 6 times last year, and so far this year we've already had it 3 times, verified. So somebody heard it in real time, and they chuckle every time because I just mentioned the Freemasons, or they heard it on their way in. So, and then I go back and verify on the recording, so to kind of see if it's actually there. So 6 times last year alone it came up. Again, super weird. Now, this space, I do linger here for just a few minutes because, again, this is residual. It's just happening over and over and over again. The next space we're going to go to is another alley. However, I cannot take you all the way through that alley because I've been booted out. You guys have all the blinky lights and noisemakers and that kind of thing, and this is we're going to Philadelphia Alley where you guys read about the Whistling Doctor. But me talking about that story over there is going to stir up some activity, and we're going to stay relatively close to that location the rest of the night, which means the spirit boxes are going to have relative terms to that story the rest of the evening. So it happens all the time because it does bleed over quite a bit, and it is a very active, intelligent spirit over there as well. So again, I get a lot of, like, you're going to see how many keywords actually pop up out of this. So here's what's going to happen from here. As we exit the alley, both cameras are going to stop as we exit because we're cutting through a neighborhood to be able to get to the next space. We don't record in residential areas. So Ron, just make sure you hit the stop button when we exit.
Okay.
I will tell you 2 nights ago, here's the funny thing, and this might actually be relevant for you. We leave the alley, and one of my guests comes running up to me and said, hey, who is that guy at the end? Like, just standing there leaning against the wall. And I'm like, I didn't see any guy. And I had a full group, just like this. There was like 8 or 9 people. And some other lady said, yeah, I saw that guy too, but nobody else did. The funny thing is I was missing some of the footage from that night from the cameras to be able to verify. So that camera person using your camera, Katie, actually shut it off here at this location, so we missed it at the end, and everybody was kind of bombarding the edge, trying to follow me, so I didn't see any cold spots because there was too much body heat going on. The funny thing about the other person that said, yeah, I saw that person too wearing the white shirt, was my only skeptic on the tour. So take that for what it's worth, Kaya. When somebody comes up to me and somebody says, oh, I felt this, or I got pushed, or whatever, I have to take that at face value. But when somebody else comes back to verify that, like I saw the same thing that you just saw, like I was wondering who that guy was too, yeah, something was going on there. But yeah, let's head up to the next alley. Yes, Ryan?
Well, me and my dad, sorry. We both said we kind of felt like a weird, like, shiver cold thing.
Where?
Like back in the parking lot.
Back at Pinckney.
Like I randomly like shivered out of nowhere and then it stopped.
You know, what's funny is I felt, and I normally don't put my feelings into things. I Philadelphia Alley last night. I had a cold spot just come across my left arm, and I had the thermal imaging person keep the camera focused on me for the rest of our time there. I did see a little bit of a temperature drop, but nothing significant where I could say it was paranormal. So it might have just been some kind of breeze coming from somewhere. So, but yeah, good spot. Good deal. That's when you guys got to tell me that stuff. Let's go up to the next alley. Marty's like, yeah, let's do this. How far away did you get Giant?
Giant when we were standing there.
Just there, then.
Yeah.
If
And
it-
I just got tough.
If we were still back at Pinckney Mansion, I would obviously relate that to Big John who played for the New York Giants.
Oh, you're right. Like how quickly, is this like instant?
Yes,
Okay.
that's why the timestamps are super relevant.
Oh, okay.
Because I need
Oh,
to
and then it says instantly, so I guess it's
Of course, giving you the answers. You don't have to ask me anymore.
Should I stop it now?
Yeah, go ahead. And obviously, Katie, you got yours perfect. One reason why we went with the all black model, so that we can use it inconspicuously. And of course, you can take tons and tons of pictures just by standing there. It was funny, you guys were by height, and then you two kind of messed it all up. You guys kind of went straight up. No, you're fine. It's just funny that I looked at it that way because my eyes are going, whoop. But behind me is Philadelphia Alley. It's easy to remember the name because that's where Eliza's Berries in Philadelphia, right? Not the actual city, not the alley. But it used to be called Dueler's Alley. So, yeah, you see. You guys have all read this story, right? You heard gunshot? Nice. So remind me to write that one down. I want to kind of get through all the keywords here. So we all tell the story of one specific duel because it actually occurred. I'm going to tell you the story a little bit differently because you are ghost hunting. You're not just listening around a campfire ghost story, right? So a doctor moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here because his fiancée Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. Now, she has an attorney that's helping her out with all of this cash. The attorney thinks that the doctor is just after Amanda's money, so he tells Amanda to get rid of the doctor. The doctor, to prove that he's not just after her cash, he decides he's going to move to Charleston and start his new medical practice down here. So as he's coming into town, the coachman set him up to be robbed and killed. It wasn't a very good start to his stay in Charleston, but somebody walking by named Ralph Isaacs. I'm going to stop on Ralph for a second. Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from. R.I. shows up here all the time. Ralph Isaacs, Rhode Island. I just gave you the two main characters. We always need to verify our clue so that way we know who it actually belongs to. So, but Ralph tells the doctor, dude, you don't want to stay here. He's got a gunman inside. He's going to try to kill you. But I got some friends at 59 Church Street. You can stay there, and you'll be safe and good to go. The doctor takes him up on the offer, and they become friends. So, the doctor's practice starts to take off, which means he's making his own money, and Amanda's coming down soon. I know, still boring stuff.
Sorry,
Wake up a
I'm
little
sorry,
bit.
I'm sorry,
I
I'm
could
sorry, I'm
go on
sorry.
for a whole night, just so you know.
You heard it.
I know, right? So, but the doctor becomes known as the whistling doctor because he whistled all the time. It's the late 1700s. Yes, that was the thing. So, I know, right? But I will tell you that every haunted city you go to will probably have a cliched whistling ghost wherever you go. Ours happens to be a doctor, and yes, I have proof of this one specifically. Now, with that said, him and Ralph go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. Just the way the hierarchy works in Charleston. He gets better seats. We're talking about William III on their way home one night, about the new actress that was in town. The doctor thought she was fantastic, but Ralph, not so much. They start arguing, and it gets a little heated when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée, Amanda, back home in Rhode Island. They go their separate ways. But Ralph, being from here, has friends at the newspaper, and he puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. The doctor sees the ad and rebuttals with, let's go to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this. So they come down, they take their 10 paces, they turn, the doctor points his gun in the air, and he shoots. He did not want to kill his friend. He just wanted to have the courage and bravery to show up to the fight, which is often what happened at a duel, by the way. Ralph has his one shot. Sorry, you're the only male. Puts it in the knee shot, in the kneecap, on the doctor, so the doctor doesn't die right away. Sorry, I always have to kill somebody in this story, and it's always the person right in front of me. So the doctor drops to the ground, his friends pick him up, they carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. You gotta remember, this guy's a doctor. He probably tried to bleed it out himself. So we do get a lot of things around this location. What they normally will tell you down that alley is if you're walking down, you can actually hear the whistles from the doctor. That's why they call it the whistling doctor. I used to take my tours all the way down through there, and we did have some whistling come through. If you're going to do that on your own while you're walking around town, turn on your voice recorders and check it out later. I want you to keep in mind that every local knows this story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street on the other side is going to throw a whistle down the alley. I do it every single night. When we stop up there, my garage is right there, which means I have to pass the alley, and if my daughter's on the tour, we race to see who's going to throw the whistle down the alley first. It's just something we do, especially since we were booted out. So here's the fun part of being booted out of here. I get to tell you this part of the story. This is the fun part. So, I was like, really? Got booted out? This is fun? So, this alley didn't come all the way through. It used to be where they kept all of the livestock for the city of Charlestown. It used to be called Cow Alley, which means those bricks on the other side, on the Queen Street side, are older than the bricks on this Cumberland Street side. Those bricks at the end are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprint and fingerprint swipes in those bricks at the end of the alley. And I'd always talk about it because I'm taking my bricks all the way through, but we have to keep moving. However, everybody wants to look at that brick and try to get some kind of activity out of it. From an EMF meter, a spirit box, and I treat that brick the same way I do a grape. You're not going to get a whole lot of activity out of it because the kid's not staring at the brick in the afterlife. It's just disrespectful. So one night, November 26th of 2020, yes, very specific date on purpose, my group decides they're going to huddle around that one brick and try to get some activity. I'm trying to hurry them along, and I will tell you that it was outside of a gentleman's dining room window of his beautiful mansion. He was not very happy with me at all. Come out, my daughter thought it was great because Dad's getting yelled at. She was on the tour that night. So we moved on. The next night was November 27th, Thanksgiving. I did not have a tour that night. I worked in retail for over 20 years. I'm sure you can all relate why I took Thanksgiving off for the first time in many years. The next day was November 28th. I got a phone call from the tourism office asking me to either go down halfway or to reroute my tour. We're allowed to go down halfway, but it's not fair for my 10 people to try to investigate a small space with 20 to 60 other people in there from other tours. So that's why we stay over here. I reroute my group, and we go talk about this female pirate that I didn't even believe in the ghost story of. Before we leave, somebody hears the name Anne on a spirit box. So I'm like, okay, I didn't tell y'all we're going to be investigating Anne Bonny, the famous female pirate. Let's go see what happens. I wing it, I tell them what I knew about Anne Bonny, and somebody else hears the number 300 come out of it. I'm like, out of another spirit box. I don't know what that means. As I'm going through the data the next day, Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was on November 28th of 1720. We were there of November 28th, 2020, the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial. So I keep taking folks back there night after night, which is where we're going next, that we're going to investigate. But we are going to be dealing with pirate lore. I can't tell you how many damn pirate books I've had to read since that actually occurred, and now I believe in the story because I have proof night after night. It's a hit or miss location. The worst case scenario is you're going to learn a hell of a lot about pirates as I kind of give you the things that I found common among many resources because we're dealing with lore, and I'm sure you realize I'm all about true history. So, have we heard or seen anything besides gunshot that I need to write down before we leave this space?
I got a lot of words in this space. Yeah.
Can I just take a look at your word list?
Yeah.
Let me write down.
Go
She
Foley
has
with
gunshot.
You want to try and listen?
Foley was the first thing here.
Yeah.
Getting a number 4 scooters. Yeah, I don't see anything super like, oh my god, check this out.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have, like, if it said church and then, you know, Kaya heard the number 59, that was the address of where the
Yeah.
doctor stayed. So I don't see anything that's like super specific, but expect a lot of religious terms out of your spirit boxes going forward because we're going to be getting close to St. Philip's. It happens all the time, just so you guys know. Anything else pop up out of your spirit box? The actual
Turn it down a bit so I can hear them.
Oh.
Turn it down a bit so I can hear them.
Okay. So that was a noise of gunshot. The funny thing is we will actually hear songs that have whistling in it as I'm telling this story. So like Moves Like Jagger has all that whistling in there. Guns N' Roses Patience will show up here all the time. It's just weird as I'm telling you the story of a whistling doctor, not actually down the alley, that we get songs with whistling in it. So, and it's not something I'm searching for, it just happens. So, but let's go learn about some crazy pirates. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Let's head up to the next spot.
Should I pause it?
Go on, Heather.
I'm coming.
Not crosses, so everybody knows. Those are earthquake bolts.
Oh my god, they're yelling. Yeah, that was their names, Heather and Erica. We must know them. I heard people yelling their names.
I did hear it.
Yeah,
Did you?
yeah.
I wonder if that's the people that you
Yeah.
guys were parting ways with
It
before.
might have been their yeah.
Interesting. So, earthquake bolts.
Yeah.
Earthquake bolts are basically turnbuckles. So if we have another earthquake like what I talked about at the beginning of the tour, I thought I heard a voice over there. Yeah. That's why I was like, But basically, the turnbuckle, after an earthquake, you can turn those turnbuckles and push them straighten the building back up again. It's a great idea, it just doesn't work, just so you know. Earthquake bolts are all over town. That's you rustling around. I'm like,
Yeah,
what's
I'm sorry.
going on?
This is really pissing me off.
Who the hell's in the ivy? Everybody run. I know, right? Oh, Calhoun, he haunts over here too. But the earthquake bolts, the reason that I bring these up is because those are the first set of earthquake bolts that Charlestown put in, because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina. It was finished in 1713, which is why we're here. So, yeah, the little tiny building over there, Heather.
Okay.
So we're going to be getting close to it here shortly. But the reason why I bring this up is because this is kind of like what I call a familiar. I told you there was kind of a name for every location. This is like using a toy to attract a child first. You don't have many buildings this old, especially like where we're actually allowed to tour with you guys. But this would be kind of like a familiar place for Anne Bonny because of the age of it. So we also talked about the Charlestown walls earlier. The garage over there, that's where the wall stood. It went up Cumberland Street and started going past the powder magazine, started going south towards the battery. Locks the gunpowder magazine into the corners of the fortified walls on purpose. If it gets attacked from a pirate ship or a warship, Revolutionary War, from the water 3 blocks away, first off, the cannonball is going to have a hard time making it up this far, but if it does and penetrates the walls, they're 32 inches thick. It's going to have a hard time getting through, but we're going to pretend that cannonball goes all the way through and blows up the gunpowder. Underneath those red shingles you see is sand. It was put there during the construction of the early 1700s, and it's put there so that way it goes up in the air with the explosion of the gunpowder and then falls to put out the fire of the gunpowder. The sand is still there because sand does not disintegrate. However, that theory doesn't work either. We had another gunpowder closer to the battery. It did get attacked, sand in the air, building burned to the ground. So this one's just never been attacked, but it did serve in 7 different wars and 1 rebellion. So the number 7 will show up here from time to time too. But in the middle of this building's construction is where our story actually begins, so try to follow me, there's a lot of twists. 1708, a young lady named Anne Cormack moves here from Ireland. She's with her father and his mistress. The mistress is her mother. Is everybody with me so far? How the 3 little trio worked? Now, the 3 of them are running away from Ireland to get here to run away from his wife. How angry was she? Just saying. So, they land in Georgetown, just north of here, between her and Myrtle Beach. Dad buys a plantation, Mom dies pretty quickly, which means he has to send young Anne down here to Charlestown to sell anything from the plantation to keep things afloat. Well, back home in Ireland, by the way, Anne was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants when she was only like 10 or 12 years old, so about your age, with a knife to the belly. So just kind of keep that mentality of this young lady as we're going through the rest of the story.
The child of the... Okay.
She was a child and she killed a servant.
Okay.
So, now, the building was done in 1713. We're fast forwarding. Pirates are coming through town in 1715. Anne gets stoked because she's going to fall in love. This is guy number 1. Yes, I'm going to keep tally. There's a handful. Guy number 1 turns out to be James Bonny. You can already see where this one's going because I've already mentioned Anne's full name. But Dad doesn't approve because he's a filthy pirate. They run away to Jamaica. They get married. Anne Cormack becomes Anne Bonny, the famous female pirate. But when she gets down there, this is not Captain Jack Sparrow like she was hoping for. This guy's a privateer. He's basically a spy for the British. He's a coward in her eyes. So she falls in love again a few years later. This guy's name is John Rackham, aka Calico Jack. This is the actual person they based Captain Jack Sparrow, the character, off of, just so everybody knows. Now, Jack has his own ship, and Anne wants to be part of it. But you can't put a girl on the crew because girls are bad luck. So he makes a deal with her. If you dress like a guy and hide your gender, then you can be part of the crew, but you're going to be a girl in my quarters. He's the captain. So she's okay with this because Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy back home in Ireland to keep her away from his wife. So she's good with it. But most of us are adults here. Let's put 2 and 2 together. She eventually gets pregnant. You can't have a pregnant pirate guy on the crew. They're going to figure out that she's a girl. So he drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby, come back later, we'll figure it out. She goes and has the baby, but returns with no baby. We have no idea what happened to the child. She's also dressed like a female. She doesn't give a damn anymore about hiding her gender, and this makes Jack angry. While she was away giving birth to Jack's child, he captured another pirate crew and they're down below deck. She's going to go flirting, because that's what Anne does. Guy number 3. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy, to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack captured. So now we have 2 females doing the exact same thing. Her name is Mary Read. Mary Read and Anne become friends, possibly lovers, we'll never know for certain, and the British find out where they are. They send all of their ships to come take down one pirate ship. Anne and Mary are the only 2 pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks, probably because they don't know how to use the cannons yet. So, obviously they're going to get taken. 2 ladies trying to defend one big giant ship. As they're being arrested, she looks at her captain and her bow and says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog." The word dog being very prominent on your spirit boxes. What do you have? You're smiling pretty big. You have what?
Urban.
Mm.
I'm just LOLing.
Gotcha. So, with that said, the judge wants to see the two men that fought back so valiantly after he's already tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunken pirates that wouldn't come up. I know, the cat's going to take all my attention. So,
Yeah, well.
so the two ladies go in front of the judge. They reveal their gender. He doesn't care that they're female. They're pirates to him. He's still going to hang them. We plead our bellies was the last thing they said, meaning they're both claiming to be pregnant. You can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So he sends them both back to jail, but Dad is still here in Charlestown with his Irish money. He bails out Anne, brings her back home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4, because we're going to count Mary Reed, and has 4 children, dies at the age of 84. Yes, very abrupt ending. Now, as far as Mary Reed goes, she died a year later in 1721 in that Jamaican jail from whatever pirates died from in a Jamaican jail. So as far as questions you guys can ask, it's an open forum, but I will tell you the 2 things that I can prove for certain, because everything else is basically off of pirate lore. The name of Calico Jack's ship, I left out of the story on purpose, and the name of Anne Bonny's parents, that's the father and his mistress. So if you want to ask those 2 specific questions, you can do that, and hopefully you will get the answer. I will tell you, at the beginning of this tour, I kind of gave you that heated warning of people passing out on my tours. I'm going to take 1 more minute of your time before I spread everybody out to investigate the location and tell you why I give that warning. Back in September of last year, I brought my group back here. Much cooler than this. We're very humid tonight, by the way. And the kid next to me goes white as a ghost. I have to literally pick him up by his armpits. His boyfriend picks him up from the other side. We get him over to the wall, bottle of water. He's feeling better. I then tell the story that I just told you about Anne Bonny. It's important to know that they don't know what you guys now know, but then I spread everybody out, but they pull me aside and say, Nick, we have to tell you, we are 2 transgender males. Meaning I had 2 females dressed as males, just like Anne and Mary in the story, on my tour. And it made complete sense as to why one of them passed out the minute we entered the space. These are the uncanny things that I see pretty much on a monthly basis. That is probably one of the most uncanny things, but again, it's why I give those warnings. Psychics and mediums normally don't make it through this tour. Just so you guys know, the Pinckney Mansion is usually a little too much for them. Yeah. As far as those of you with cameras, it looks like you guys made friends. Awesome. As far as the cameras, you guys can go in the front of the powder magazine to get some footage of the front lawn, but kind of keep out of the way of the other tours. If somebody's staying there telling their portion of the powder magazine story, just let them do their thing so you guys can go up and actually get some footage. Spirit boxes loud and proud in this location. EMF meters. We're not going to see a whole lot. It's all about your REM pod, so that is the motion sensor. You definitely want to use it in here. But as far as your EMF readings, if you get anything, I want to know what's going on. If you do get anything, just make sure you're not in the corners of the lot up here, because the electrical poles will give you false positives, and or on the street because of the parking meters. So kind of keep that in mind on both of your ends. But yeah, definitely hit that white button in the back. Let's get those spirit boxes running, and let's see what we can go find. I'm going to head up towards the wall.
I need some batteries.
I don't have any batteries. These get fresh batteries every day, and I only bring the 1. You're killing me. Are you serious? It died out? Wow.
Right around.
I got
Got
a
some cold
religious
spots.
wear sponsored by the church.
What'd you get?
Catholic.
We get a lot of religious stuff. Bible. I don't think I've ever seen Catholic. But we get Bible.
Are you waiting for your word?
I don't have questions, so I forgot.
Before I leave and double check it. Because I do have spares. So it's something like that's craziness. Last night we actually asked for Anne Bonny's hair, or 2 nights ago, Anne Bonny's hair color, and it gave us the color red, which means somebody had to touch it to give us that, and it's a rarity. We don't normally see that. So last night I asked it on Marty's device, and we got the word red specifically. Like, very interesting, the fact
So
that
Anne Bonny was a redhead?
she was Irish lady.
Hey!
Yeah.
Yeah, she was the
I could
voluptuous
see you
vixen.
being. I could see you being a pirate.
Where should I record to try and find some stuff?
Nice slow movements throughout this space. Your camera actually likes to act up in here, so I'm
Okay.
always looking for faulty lines and things that should not be in the camera. Heather, I gotta tell you,
Let's go over by that old building.
Okay. Is that gonna sense me? Or like,
If I get close, yeah.
so if a ghost gets really close to you, it'll just start going off.
Yeah.
That'd be scary if it just starts going off and no one's around you.
Could be cool.
But that would mean a ghost is really, really close.
Anne, are you here? Anne.
Can you ask questions to it?
You can do whatever you want.
she's never been. So
Okay.
it's just
Well, different than the other photos.
Want to stay by me? Where'd the cat go?
Allison? Okay, walk. What is the name of Calico Jack's ship? Number. I did way more than you do.
What? What?
Show her. By the church is a blue dot. What's that?
Oh, what is that?
I don't know.
By the church?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to hold this guy.
Yeah. Oh, Mom's got a blue dot. Oh, let me see if there's something by here.
Do you have a high reading there?
Could be the cat. The cat like walked out from behind that car right when it came out.
It looks taken care of. Sure.
Yeah. She's got a collar on. Kitty cat, are you scared of ghosts?
They can sense them. Did you see his movement?
So he left that corner, so we should go over that corner and see what's over there.
1 second. Hi, kitty cat. Hi. What's up? Okay.
And what color was your hair? And if you touch the antenna,
here. Very quiet. Okay. I'm gonna check on Erica and then we'll pull it all together. What you got going on?
I got 4 words.
Okay.
Cure, straw, intent, time.
This is a weak list, and it's small.
Yeah.
I normally get about 75 words at a time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're at 61.
Oh, I'm just like gently speaking. I was like, thank you for having us here.
Well, it's not,
Please
you know,
tell us.
you doing anything.
Yeah.
It's a matter of like what's the
Oh,
app
deal.
What's the app right?
Deal.
Tiny deal. I look at things when I'm looking at the people and wanting
Yeah.
to press that line.
Kitty, kitty, kitty.
All right, let's pull it over to the wall, guys. Let's see if we can actually get going.
I've gotten a 143 and then 341 repeated a couple times.
843 is our area code in this location.
143.
143. I was going to ask you, are you sure? 143 and then 341.
Yeah, it's been like repeated those 3 numbers in different ways.
Have you ever heard of like animal ghosts?
Sure I have. I do this for a living, like every day. I research, read, talk to people. Most of my friends are psychics. Like, this is the life. All right,
She heard some more.
Guys, come on over, Mike. Oh, I'm sorry. What you got?
I heard Jack is dead and then the word bullets.
And then right when I put the camera at the church and was filming it, she started hearing God. And
I
then
heard the word I heard a lot of Jesus. And I heard like
Jesus a
Holy
lot.
Sing, yeah.
Right when I was like filming the church.
Well, that's common over here.
But you said earlier, I heard you say
Yeah.
about God and Jesus.
Yeah, so a lot of like religious terms. The minute we start rounding that corner,
Yeah.
from Philadelphia Alley, lots of religious
Yeah, I was like
terms.
right over there and I heard Jesus like
Yeah.
4 times.
So I'm looking at this 341 and 143 that was heard, and I'm kind of looking at it as a date. So like maybe March 14th, like 14.143. So I'm gonna see if
I heard like 143 and then it was like 341. I don't know what was being
But I
said.
want
It
to
was
say
just like
Anne
repeated.
Bonny's death. No, her birthday is March 8th, but she died on April 22nd. So again, I'm trying to see where there might be a tie, but I definitely, you heard Jack, and you also heard Jack is dead, really, so that's very specific. But again, I'm not really seeing much that, Mayday, Mayday, that's another weird thing that was heard, and that was actually heard here a few weeks ago as well. I tried diving into it to see if something specific was in May.
I heard tragedy at one
Tragedy?
point. Yeah.
I have new words. I have deal, different, and constitution.
Who heard Charles?
And now I have contest.
Well, contest we get a lot because of Philadelphia Alley, because again, they were dueling over there. But I want to go back to the Charles for a second. You heard the name Charles. I told you he's buried across the street. The nephew that signed the Constitution is also buried over there. So if we get the word promise that shows up somewhere as well, that's the Pinckney that introduced the Pinckney's promise to the Constitution. So again, these are terms that I look for all the time. I'm not saying I'm like, oh my God, I heard the word promise, and I'm seeking it out. But when it occurs, it's the same locations when I'm going through this data every single time. I don't know what's going to pop up, but again, this way you guys keep me around. You have contest, we have bullet, right? So bullet contest, you know, it's almost like a phrase that we're getting. We just have to see if there's more when we're going through the data. What I'm telling you now is, like, in real time, we get about 40% of the actual evidence. The other 60% comes through the review of the media, which is why I give it all back to you. So again, this was actually a pretty decent space. You had no numbers or colors at all show up, correct?
Yeah, that's quiet.
Yeah, and then of course yours is staying steady right now. I will tell you, like, this camera that died got a fresh battery and it's only about 3/4. So unless you took 3,000 photos tonight, there's no reason that this thing should have died. Everything comes off of a fresh charger every single day, or it gets a fresh 9-volt battery depending on what your device is. But again, there was no reason for this guy to die, but you said you had a thing with electronics dying on you all the time. Could have been you that kind of made that happen. Not pinning a blame, but it was definitely abnormal for this thing to die. So I'm going to start collecting devices. Those of you with videos, you can definitely stop them. As I'm collecting